Hey guys, it's me, Stormie. So today we are going to start talking about the nodes. I've gotten lots of emails, lots of inbox on the Facebook asking me about nodes and what are they, what do they mean? And this is from, beginning astrology learners who are like, I just don't even know what that is, to more advanced astrology people who want to talk more in depth about what the nodes in each sign mean and each house and so on and so forth. So we're going to cover that over the next 12 days. But today I wanted to give you some basic information about what a node is anyways and how to know your node. Which, the way you know your node is like everything else in astrology. Basically, you get your chart done. And there are plenty of ways to do a chart. You can contact me. I'll put my email in the description box down below. You can leave a message here. You can also go online. There's lots of free calculators that do that as well. So don't feel limited to only do it in the Stormie Grace space, okay? So, what is a node? Okay, so now the idea and the theory behind the nodes, and there's a north node and there's a south node, okay? The theory behind them says that we all come into this life with some characteristics that are overdeveloped and some that are underdeveloped. And these are basically our personal, not global, not worldly, personal karmic imbalances, okay? So the nodes of the moon point us to where these characteristics are, where these imbalances are at, where the specific qualities are overdeveloped. And when I say an overdeveloped quality, what that means is, excuse me, it's our south node. And it's overdeveloped because it's our comfort spot, right? It's where we fall back into it, behaviors or traits or habits that we fall back into out of fear. Because it's like, well, I don't really have another behavior, or it's too scary to go this way. Because the north node represents for us the challenges and the growth, taking on new behaviors, taking on new beliefs that bring the internal imbalance and connection with that divine energy into balance, so that we have, yes, the overdeveloped south node, but we've balanced it out with bringing the north node, these challenges and these growth to these new habits and behaviors into balance, so we achieve that karmic wellness, okay? So, like I said, the south node is the one that is overdeveloped. We know that. It's old behavior. We like to fall back into it. The north node is, we don't really know that. We have to grow. We have to change. There has to be something different about us that we begin to develop and bring into the light. Now, what is amazing about these is that whether or not people follow astrology, you can tell that these are happening, because we'll have these bad habits and people will come into our life, teachers will come into our lives to continually confront us with the fact that we've got a bad behavior, or we've got a tendency, or we'll see a consistent pattern. I see this really specifically in relationships. People will continuously be like in a codependent relationship or attract the exact same kind of person over and over and over again, and that's their fallback place, right? But at the same time, excuse me guys, someone will also be called into this person's life in a north node fashion that tells them, hey, why do you continue to be in codependent relationships? Sometimes the person, place, or teacher that shows up is a little bit rough, and they're like, you need to stop, or la la la. It's very aggressive, usually an Aries. Or they come in a loving fashion where the person can kind of soften and hear them and hear, oh, I need to grow in this direction. I need to look at why I keep doing that. And the number one characteristic of a south node is fear. Fear exists so absolutely in the south node because we are afraid to move forward. It's a position of great insecurity. It represents things that we really want. So let's say, for example, okay, that your south node is in Libra in your 7th house. Your general desire is going to be to have a partner, to be in a relationship, to have partnerships, things like that. So the north node, quite the opposite of it, is going to be for you to learn to grow and stand by yourself and be able to have a relationship, not need to be in a relationship to be able to feel successful. So that's the way the nodes work, just in a very general turn right now. And I want to tell you too, the other part of nodes is that when you're looking at a node, you're going to want to look at which sign and which house your node are in, of course, but then you also need to look at the planet that rules the sign that your node is in. So that probably sounds really confusing, but don't worry, we're going to break it down here. So let's see. Let's say that your north node is in Aries, okay? The ruling planet for Aries is Mars. Excuse me. And your Mars on your chart, your Mars sits in Sagittarius. Did you follow me there? So, your north node is in Aries, okay? Mars is the ruler of Aries. And your Mars sign in your chart is sitting in Sagittarius. Now, that part right there, my Mars is sitting in Sagittarius, is going to tell us how you start to grow through developing these qualities. So, because your north node is in Aries, you're probably going to need to learn to develop standing on your own, not acting so impulsively, feeling good about yourself, whether you are partnered up or whether you are doing anything like that. And the way that you're going to do it, the way that you might do it, will be with Sagittarian qualities. So that may look very adventurous. You may find this balance through philosophy. You may find this connection through adventure and getting out and being with that divine energy and learning to harness that as source energy so that you can stand on your own. You may even find it through higher education. Sagittarius loves higher education, things like that. So these are just some baseline things I want to put out there to you guys to start considering and answering some basic questions about nodes. Now, in the next few days, videos to come, I'm going to address nodes in different signs and talk about what that means a little bit so that you have kind of a guide as to if your node is in Aries, if you have a south node or a north node in Aries. The other thing I want to tell you quickly before I end this video is that wherever your north node is, your south node will always be directly opposite. So let's say your north node is in Taurus. Your south node is going to be in Scorpio. It's always opposite. So if you have a north node in Cancer, then your south node is always going to be in Capricorn. Okay, so it's always going to be into that opposite sign. All right, guys, I hope this has been a little bit helpful. If you have questions, leave them down below and look for more node videos to come this week as we're going to tackle this. All right, I love you guys. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and today we are going to continue talking about the nodes. So today we're going to start to talk about the placement and the signs and the houses of some of the nodes and some of the issues that come with it and some of the things we need to outgrow it. So when we're talking about the nodes, when we're showing the position of the north node, that's the context for some of the challenges and conflicts we'll have and things we need to grow towards. Now, the sign position is going to reveal the qualities we need to actually make these changes. So today we're starting right at the beginning of the zodiac. If your north node is in Aries, then you know, because it has to be opposite, your south node is going to be in Libra. So that puts your north node in your first house and your south node in your seventh house. So now what are some of these issues, the fallback problems and the growth opportunities? Well, one of the really big issues as the fallback thing, the thing that we're comfortable doing, is we'll have codependency issues here. Severe indecisiveness and a tendency to just have problems in our one-on-one relationships. Now, whether that be romantically, that can also be with a boss, that can also be just with friends, it can also be with siblings, for sure, and with children. So that's one of those things, and they're just relationship issues is what this kind of suggests to us. So what we need to learn to do here is to love ourselves. That's what we're growing towards here, is loving ourselves more, learning to trust and be independent, and to trust our instincts so that we stay away from these easy fallback relationships that are codependent. Because the deal is we'll go, oh my gosh, I'm too afraid to be myself, or I'm too afraid to make this decision or to follow this intuition that I'm having because I won't be perceived as being like, a good person, or people will see me me differently, or they won't accept me. So I fall back into just being codependent, and I'm fine with whatever you want to do. Even though I may be in a codependent relationship and think that I'm not. This is a really big deal when it comes to these nodes. So like I said, the growth opportunity then here is to learn to love ourselves, to trust those instincts and those intuitions, and to go with them, and to learn to, for these set of nodes, trusting that impulse that you have is really kind of a good deal here, because it's a form of self-confidence here. And so with there being so much fear about trusting what we do here, we are looking to focus on having an internal balance of peace. Internal. Because what this can also look like is that we're striving so hard to have balance and to people please in our relationships outside of ourselves, but we're all scattered on the inside. So if these are your node placements, these are some of the qualities and some of the typical growth opportunities that have to go with it. As well, you know, it's going to depend on what you've got conjuncting and some other planets and things like that. But for now, while we're learning about nodes, just focus on the fact that these are some of the tendencies and some of the issues and growth opportunities for the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. I'll see you guys tomorrow, where we will start to talk about the North Node in Taurus. Bye, guys. Hey, guys, it's me, Stormie, and today we are going to talk about when you have your North Node in Taurus, which means your South Node will be in Scorpio. So your North Node in the 2nd house and your South Node in the 8th house, okay? So some of the conflicts and some of the issues and the fallback behaviors that are associated with this is that there tends to be a lack of understanding of our own value, but it's based on our significance to someone else or to something else. Like maybe your identity is tied into your company, like you are who you are because your company says this. This can also be a sign that it has issues of really supporting other people or really supporting somebody else at the expense of ourselves, at the expense and the comfort of ourselves. These sets of nodes also really can attract situations into their lives that are really confusing and really chaotic and really like, it didn't need to be that way, but they attract them in because they fall back in fear, where it's easy to just go back to what I normally know, to attract what I normally know, which means I'm not adopting a new behavior to have a serene situation. Instead, it just always has to be dramatic. So those are some of the watchful things that happen here. Now, some of the things we grow to in here are learning to value ourselves, love ourselves from the inside out, connect with that divine energy, and make sure that it's inside love coming out, not outside love trying to rearrange what's inside. So picking goals, creating goals based on our own values of what we really from our soul level need to be doing here, and then growing towards them. The other thing with this is that these nodes can also be people who are very impatient. They need to have relationships now. They need to do things now. But learning and growing towards these goals patiently with time, realizing that things develop over time. You know, the best wine is aged over time, and I think that's the same for cheese as well. But it's the same with some of the soul work for these nodes. So one of the other things that I really want to say is that it's really important with these nodes to start to learn to grow from the inside out and set your own value from the inside out, so that you can actually enjoy the peace and serenity that comes with the moments of your life, instead of having to get a peaceful moment and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what it's like to be peaceful and serene. So you create crisis, because these are people and these are personalities that tend to create crisis when everything's serene, because they just don't know how to be peaceful as well. So once the peace is set on the inside, the values are set from the inside out, you get to enjoy the moments around you on the outside, and that's what the soul level growth here looks like. So I will see you guys tomorrow when we talk about the North Node in Gemini. Bye, guys. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and tonight we are going to talk about what it means when you have your North Node in Gemini. Then your South Node would be in Sagittarius, or your North Node in the 3rd house, and your South Node is in the 9th house. So now the issues that surround and the lessons that there are to learn here is that this can really be a lot of being reactive instead of being proactive. And what I mean is, what we often see in this kind of personality type and in these lessons is that this is a person who really doesn't gather the details or the actual facts. They just hear some information, maybe even make up some information in their head, and then they run forward with it. And of course, if you're running forward on fictional facts, then they're not really facts, right? So it's creating more of a mess, and it's creating tension and breakdowns and lack of intimacy, lack of even courtesy in relationships. So one of the things that really, the big lesson I think that these nodes carry with them is to slow down and to realize that in order to have successful relationships, in order to come to successful resolutions, there has to be both listening, pausing, listening some more, then responding. There also has to be some proactivity. If something looks like it may be a problem or there may be an issue, or if somebody comes to you with an issue, gathering those details first. Be proactive to say, okay, let me find out some information before I go forward making decisions and tromping over people's feelings because I think I know what's going on. The other really big thing that I think is, I talk a lot about the imagination and the imaginary problems with this, because this is also a set of lessons that really puts pressure on who these people are in terms of their image and in terms of like if they're good enough in the world. And it's all based on things that come from their own head. It's imaginary pressures, like nobody cares if you're not a rocket scientist, but you feel like the entire world super cares. You know what I mean? And so learning to slow down here too and realize that in these relationships that you've actually slowed down long enough to stick around, suit up and show up for, that people love you just how you are. And it's through that unconditional love that you're also able to hand this unconditional love back to yourself. The one other thing with this is that this sign, or these traits of these nodes, is that this is they're quick moving people. Like they're always moving from one thing to the next. That's very Sagittarian, isn't it? So they're not staying very long with one thing. They're on to the next, and they feel like they have to move so fast, because if they don't move and gather everything quickly, then everything could be gone because there's just not enough. And that's, another one of those lessons is learning that slow down, nurture the relationships, learn to nurture yourself, and you'll see that there's plenty for all, and there's happiness and serenity to be enjoyed with this in life. So those are a couple of the things that go on with these kinds of lessons, and I will see you guys tomorrow where we talk about your North Node in Cancer. Bye, guys. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie. So tonight I wanted to talk to you about what happens when you have your North Node in Cancer and your South Node in Capricorn. So North Node in the 4th house and South Node in the 10th house. Okay, so what are the fallback kind of behaviors and conflicts that come with these signs? And what it looks like is like those super type A managers. Not even a type A person necessarily, but the conflict of, I have to manage everything so much that I take my responsibility so serious that I'm so rigid and I can't relax and I cannot delegate because I really don't think anybody else will ever do it right. I'm really the only person who knows how to do it right, and I am absolutely also going to manage or overmanage or micromanage this situation to death because I'm so afraid of depending on someone else, because I really don't believe that you can be as useful to me as I can be to me. So that's like the core issue. And of course, the learning that comes with this is learning that fear of depending on other people for our happiness is absolutely legitimate, but the over fear is where you fall back into it. And growing through learning that depending and collaborating and working with people on things is really where the understanding of what your part is in the project, what you have to bring, what somebody else has to bring, and how it all contributes to the professional success and to this life success. So coming to learn all of these lessons, you're going to hear me say at some point it's about bringing it down to the core piece or that connection with the divine or the core understanding of your value. And that is true because every single set of lessons is always about that. Bringing us to find the divine at the core of each of us and realize the perfection that we were made to be, but the lessons that we also have to learn through. So sharing more in projects, people who are having a hard time in the South Node in the fallback of this, jumping into more collaborations with people, whether that just be, on YouTube. It can even be on YouTube, or it's just doing something where you have to work with other people to learn to let go of the reins a little bit and see how the project unfolds perfectly and beautifully, without you having to manage it to death. So I will see you guys tomorrow when we start talking about what happens when you have your North Node in Leo. Bye, guys. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and tonight we are going to talk about what it looks like when you have your North Node in Leo and your South Node in Aquarius. So your North Node is in your 5th house and the South Node is sitting in the 11th house. Okay, so some of the problems and the fallback behavior that's here is this tendency to just rely on people and then they consistently let us down. Because we lack the ability to trust our own instincts and we're afraid of like being the center of attention. So that's one of the traits that's here. So it's like, well, I'll just rely on this person so I don't really have to have any spotlight shown on me. But then you're always let down, you know, because the person's not ever going to do it the way you would as an individual. Another thing is the ability here to really jump too far into other people's problems that you have no business being in, or maybe you were just supposed to open the front door and instead you're moving the whole house. You know what I mean? You take on too much of another person's problem. So the trick here and the soul work here is to learn the boundaries, learn to take risks and to get out there and to allow yourself to be recognized as an individual for the individual things that you bring to the table. That's another huge thing, is that this has some fallback behavior of being way too afraid to take risks and to do something different. Most specifically in our relationships, they can be very distant relationships where they're impersonal, or we come off as impersonal, or we come off as people who are just kind of pushing people to the side. And yeah, they're there because everybody is equal and we love everybody, but not really. You know what I mean? Is what it comes off of. So learning to have relationships too where we're genuine and we're authentic, we allow ourselves to be received for who and how and we are, and to allow ourselves to share our feelings and to hear the other people's feelings as well. That's some of the work that happens right around these nodes. So if you have questions or comments, leave them down below. I definitely hope you're enjoying the video and you subscribe. I would love that. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow when we talk about your North Node in Virgo. Hi guys, good morning, it's Stormie, and today we are going to talk about when your North Node is in Virgo and your South Node is in Pisces. So your North Node in the 6th house and your South Node in the 12th house. Now, the problems and the kind of life lessons and the fallback behavior that happens here is that these people can tend to have a lack of order in their life, a lack of daily routine, a lack of some kind of routine, so it leads to completely being disorganized. It's like these people are very good too at seeing the grand scheme of things, like, yes, I want to grow up and I want to be a millionaire, okay? But they don't have a grasp on all of the baby steps it takes to actually achieving that. So then when they wake up day after day and they just don't become instant millionaires without all of the work in the middle, it can very much so lead people with these nodes to that feeling of less than, or I'm not good enough, or it's just not happening because I'm not doing enough, or because I'm not enough, or because I'm not worthy, things like that. So without understanding that there are baby steps in the middle, that there are work in the middle, this step really can feel very, very lonely. So the other things that can become really predominant issues here is that even though these people usually have great compassion for others, they can step into the place of being used because they have no real understanding of what it means to actually help and walk with another person, as opposed to doing it for another person while they walk next to you. Do you know what I mean? So they're not actually allowing the other person to do the work, they're doing it for them. So the ways that we want to grow when your nodes are in these kind of oppositions, what you're growing towards is having some kind of routine and sticking to it. Having some kind of order in your home, in your office, in your car, and sticking to it. Whether it's that you just clean your car out every Sunday regardless of what it looks like, or that you do certain things in the morning when you get up in a certain fashion or a certain order just to maintain some kind of orderliness. And this also helps them learn to have routines and understand that life takes the baby steps in the middle. You don't just show up and arrive. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow when we will talk more about nodes. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and today we are talking about what it looks like when you have your North Node in Libra and your South Node in Aries. So your North Node in the 7th house and your South Node in the 1st house. Now this can be, you already know what that Aries energy can just be very dramatic, and what the tendency is, the fallback issues here are to rely solely on ourselves, to not really be open to feedback. These people are like, I'll just go it on my own and I'll figure it out on my own hunches. They they alienate people because they're so driven with that me first attitude that it really lacks communion or collaboration with other people. So obviously the growth opportunity here is to learn to collaborate with other people. And in fact, it becomes a necessary in the lives and the spiritual development of these people because they come to find that they cannot achieve success at all. Like whatever progress they were making is completely halted or blocked until they start to consider the perspectives and the feedback and the input of other people. They simply find that they cannot continue to go it alone. Now, the North Node, South Node, when we really start to see this work in people, is usually in their 30s. So, maybe even all the way up until 35 or something like that, a person figures out that they can just trudge through walls and do it themselves and they don't need anybody. But then they come to this place where it is just almost a desperate understanding, a desperation to understand that they can no longer do this life by themselves and they've got to start considering other people. That said, Libra is our partnership sign, and this comes with a lot of fear that another partner would actually have demands on us, and they're so self-centered that they're like, I don't even want to be in a partnership because it's all about me. So outgrowing that and learning to come together in communion, in collaboration, in community with other people is the growth and the soul work opportunity for these two nodes. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow when we talk about Scorpio. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and tonight we are going to talk about what happens when your North Node is in Scorpio and your South Node is in Taurus. So your North Node in your 8th house and your South Node in your 2nd house. Now, what the fallback behavior or the soul level lessons of these two nodes is really that the tendency is to just take care of ourselves and to kind of push through the world at a very self-willed kind of pace, ignoring the sixth sense, ignoring our intuition. Oftentimes I think you can see with people in these nodes is that they hold on so tightly to the people in their lives, not because they're valuing the people, just because people mean things. Taurus is very materialistic, or they hold on to their materials. These are hoarders. These are absolutely people who are having to learn the lessons of hoarding, to let go and to recognize that those things, when they don't have value anymore and they're not serving you anymore, to let them go to the next people, places, or things that they can serve. The other thing is that this sign has a really hard time usually in relationships. Like they'll have difficulties because there's no true understanding of the value of another person. It's just kind of like, well, I'm here and I'm amazing and you kind of look amazing, so let's just be together. But of course that runs into some huge problems. Now, the growth opportunity here is to realize that in community, in collaboration, in reliance not only on other people, but trust in other people actually gets them to the desired goal, not only more quickly, but with a lot less stress. These are people too, because they hold on to so much in the material and just the holding on zone, that they usually have a lot of body issues, a lot of chakra blockages with this one as well, because it's so hard for them to let go, to release. So really learning to open up your hands, let the gifts go that need to go, let the gifts come that need to come. And also the biggest soul level thing here, I think, is not only do these nodes tend to have problems in relationships, but they need to pair up. They need to learn to live with a partner. They need to learn the deepest level of partnership, which is true intimacy. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow when we start to talk about Sagittarius. Hey guys, so this time we are talking about what it looks like when your North Node is in Sagittarius and your South Node is in Gemini. So the North Node in the 9th house and the South Node in the 3rd house. Okay, so the fallback issues that really are supplied here is that these people can be in information overload. Like they can be so mentally swamped in the details of things that they don't ever really step into that intuition and go, yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but this is probably a really awesome adventure we can go on. So what that leaves these people with is, first of all, just being completely mentally overwhelmed. And when we've got a lot going on upstairs in our heads, we can't always hear that intuitive vibe anyways to trust it, to follow it. But the other thing that happens is these people end up missing out on all kinds of adventures, which leave them with regrets because they were so practical and they were so logical, and they needed every little detail to be panned out, that they missed out on this great wild goose chase that actually taught them more about life than anything they could have ever gotten out of a book or anything they could have ever made a plan to. The other thing is that because these people get so mentally overloaded, they like get mentally overloaded or information overload, and so they feel like, I got to get away from that for a second. So instead of trusting that intuition, they just move on to another project, which is then they're overwhelmed and they move on to the next project. And of course, it leaves people with the taste in their mouth that this set of nodes is really, really flighty, and they can't have trust in them. And, you know, these people can be very inspirational, especially with Gemini there, but Gemini is not inspiring when it's perceived as being flaky. So the thing is we can't inspire trust and faith in us. We can't inspire trust and faith in something greater than ourselves because we haven't actually experienced it. So obviously, the let go of this is for these people to let go. Every decision doesn't need to be planned down to the exact detail. Sometimes you just got to grab your crap, get in the car, and go on a road trip, see who you meet. Maybe you're going to make out, and it's fine. And maybe you end up having 5 kids and a life together you never even thought you could ever have, right? Like, that is not practical and detailed. But when these people can let go, they get to see plans unfold in a way that allows them to be more trusting of that inner intuition and to quiet the mind. It's also really good because it's so much mind garble that gets up there for this sign to learn to get quiet with groups of people on a consistent basis. Because when they see that, people begin to build a sort of faith in our commitment and trust that we're going to be, you know, where we committed to be. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow when we talk about Capricorn. Hey guys, so tonight we are talking about when your North Node is in Capricorn and your South Node is in Cancer. So your North Node in the 10th house and your South Node in the 4th house. Now the fallback and soul level issues of these two nodes is really that these people tend to be very deeply emotionally troubled, and they tend to be very emotionally attached to things like their childhood or their past or a specific emotion at a time, and just how the emotion made that moment feel for them, whether or not it was like, you know, the actual facts of it. They're attached to the emotion of it, which puts them in a position to where they have a really hard time finally stepping up into their lives and being responsible, grabbing life by the balls and saying, this is my life. I am sensitive, but I can be accountable and responsible. So these are a lot of times are very emotional blame gamers, right? So, and all of this takes them out of this place where they get to actually experience the world instead they're kind of moping about it, and they're missing out on huge opportunities. And this is in relationships too. They're so overly emotional that they can't really connect in a relationship, and the other partner usually knows that they're just going to get blamed for whatever happens. So the soul level growth opportunity with this one is for these people to really strike that Capricorn balance where they say, you know what, I am stepping up, I am stepping out, I am highly sensitive, but I can also strike that balance and be very responsible for my life. And they start to put this use of these emotions to good practical purpose, but imbalance in their lives. Recognition of it is like a huge thing with any of the nodes. When we really kind of come to that place, usually in our 30s, is where we recognize that, whoa, hey, I kind of do this thing. Or someone points it out to us, hey, you can kind of blame people for a lot of your life. You're really not a victim. You know, if you've ever had that conversation with these nodes, when we really recognize it is when we start to embrace the power to be able to move forward, go out into our life, take our sensitivities with our responsibilities, create these new experiences, be a part of these new experiences, and to let go of the past, because this is a lot of unknotting and untangling resentments and hurts and fears from the past as well for these nodes, but being able to move them forward in a practical way, usually to show another person how to undo those resentments and things as well. All right, guys, so I will see you tomorrow when we are going to talk about Aquarius. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie. I'm not sure what happened to the other video, but somehow the North Node in Aquarius and South Node in Leo video, something happened to it. So let's talk about it now. So if your North Node's in Aquarius and your South Node is in Leo, so your North Node in the 11th house and your South Node in the 5th house, what the fallback issues with these nodes tends to be is people who are just, they're overly attached to that personal relationship kind of drama. Like they're like, it's all about them. They really need to be, like, they don't want to be one of the crowd. They have to stand out of the crowd. They think eccentric has to be so eccentric that it's just all about them. It's focusing on getting what they want. It can be just a very self-centered kind of existence, really. But one of the learning opportunities that's here is learning to participate in the crowd, but understand that because you're part of the crowd, it doesn't make you less. That being a part of the crowd with your individual gifts and perspectives make you more, because it makes the whole group better, because then they have a different perspective to consider. And it also puts you in that position at that soul level to learn to be humble enough to actually learn and meet the needs of others. So learning to be a part of a community and that's okay is a really big lesson for these people. All right, guys, hopefully this helped you out. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you do down below, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye. Hey guys, it's me, Stormie, and we are on the final day of the nodes. So tonight we're going to talk about when your north node is in Pisces and your south node is in Virgo. So your north node is in the 12th house. Your south node is in the 6th house. So what the big plaguing kind of fallback behaviors and issues with these nodes is this deep, it is very deep, and it's just this unremitting sense of guilt and not good enough and I'm lacking. All of these things that seem like they would be a constant stream through just humanity in itself. But in this set of nodes, it's really overly expressed, and experiences feeling like they are underperforming at everything they do. You know, they create this masterpiece and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do enough. Those kinds of things, or deep feelings of grief and shame from the past, so much so that it can usually pull these people into themselves. They can be more hermity. They can be less trusting in other people, less trusting in themselves, because it's like, well, it's just all broken. Why would I trust any of it? So the area of soul level growth here is really about learning to connect with that divine energy and have a faith and a trust that what you're doing out in the world is enough. And it's enough because it's what you were made to do. And that you are enough. You are enough because you were made perfectly and you were just traveling the way that you're supposed to. And this acceptance that not everything's going to unfold perfectly, and that doesn't say less about you. Or that, you know, just because something did unfold absolutely perfectly, that doesn't say anything bad about you either. So really coming to understand and develop this imagination, because this set of nodes also tends to lack some imagination. That's why they can't see too much further to say, yeah, it didn't go off like my plan exactly, but this happened and it made it magical. They're like, oh my gosh, my plan didn't happen. I'm not good enough. I can't stick to this. But as they develop this imagination, it's just kind of that, yeah, oh my gosh, it kind of happened this way. I didn't plan for that, but it was fine. And as they continue to grow in that, it's obviously that connection to divine energy and resulting in ending peace within themselves. So this wraps up all of the nodes. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below and I will definitely get to them. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would love you to do that so that we can continue to talk astrology. I will see you guys in a couple days when we have new scopes up and we also have more of the compatibilities. Bye guys.